All right.
bad actors of the government, per se.
All right. So let me answer that question verbally and do it justice. And the strong answer and the appropriate answer is it is an offensive system to begin with. So, Brian, the problem that a lot of people have, you included, and me included in the past, is that we listen to other people. And I'm going to make this a very long-winded answer. And I'm doing this deliberately because it's a topic that I think we should all consider at times. And, Brian, what's your age?
I am 55.
Okay, so we're close in age. Okay, now, I have a philosophy in life, and that philosophy is that I should not place expectations or projections upon people. It's a very healthy outlook. I will do it with my children. I won't necessarily project upon them because it's not healthy generally. I don't know which is worse, projection or expectation. But if I have an expectation with my kids or with my soldiers or with my employees, that's much different than dealing with you, for example. I'm not going to project upon you, and I'm not going to expect you. Now, what's the significance of that? If you live your life with an expectation that a guru, when he says X, and then X doesn't perform, then you're out $3,000 and you just wasted a lot of your life, time, energy. If you take courses and the courses don't produce and you're not able to defend yourself, then the expectation has not been delivered. You projected, you expected. And so we sell ourselves short, and we probably impose or expect from people because of that, and the relationship is fractured from the outset. So as a healthy framework, just a philosophy of mine is I don't expect or project unless I have immediate control and I'm looking for specific results, right? So for example, today with the website that offered the free traffic case, my expectation was that the programmer would deliver it bug-free without issues. That did not happen. And there was an issue with the email platform that accepts emails. So I had an expectation that he tested it and would deliver it. Now, in this one case, I did not test it because he's done work for me before, and I said, go ahead and do it, launch it. And so that I take the ownership of that. Now, why does this relate to your question, Brian? Do you have any idea why this relates to your question?
Not at the moment, but
Okay, I'm going to tell you very direct. The Liberty Dialogues platform globally right now is being used on the offensive by everybody on this call. If anybody is in a situation where they have never learned the terminology and the process for their government in their country about how things work, because they never learned it, they never were taught by a guru who's selling another technology and new verbiage that needs to be injected into the existing system. So it sets everybody else up for a big potential fall. What you have the ability to do right now is to take the Liberty Dialogues platform, and I realize it's very, very new to you, and you can apply it to anything and everything: taxes, divorce, traffic tickets, zoning. And you can even look at an issue with your neighbor concerning a tree limb that hangs over half of his fence and your fence, a shared fence, and you want to collect half the cost to cut the tree down. So that's the offensive. So whether you're in the defensive mode, IRS, CP letter, or zoning, citation, you are now in the offensive mode because the Liberty Dialogue system allows you the full extent, breadth, left to right and up to down, the depth of what is available with the existing system. The only limit is your limitation of understanding what questions to ask and how to apply the information that's given back to you. So when I say that it is an offensive model, there's nothing like it. Now, you can go and use any of the AI platforms in research and create a case, but you're not going to create a case in the Liberty Dialogues system manner. I don't think it's possible. You could probably create it, but with the ease with which I get information by asking questions right now with the Liberty Dialogue system without doing prompts, I know based upon what I read that it's consistent with a truth-based, constitutional-based fundamentals. It's just plain and simple. So if I were you asking that question, I would say, well, hell yes. This is a perfect vehicle for you to take anything and to apply it to your personal life and even a business relationship, anything. And I would say apply the Liberty Dialogues framework, because it's going to be faithful once you train it and you apply it, and it's going to give you the result that you should expect. Now, the expectation, going back to that, is that you should expect solid returns on the information that you get from whatever AI platform that you use with the LD system. Now, having said that, I'm going to pause and ask if you have any questions.
Last question, and I'm sure a lot of the pros that are on the call may already kind of have this knowledge, but does the LD system teach you how to lay out a case, like the steps of filing the action, starting this summons, all those steps of a court case? Is that something that it can teach you as well, or is that you need to bring that into the system?
No, absolutely. It's a good question. It's a fair question for somebody new, and the answer is yes, it will do that. And what it will do is, and we have callers on this line right now, users on this line who've actually entered their court cases that they've been working on for some time, and it's actually the Liberty Dialogue system has actually re-engineered it and said go in this direction. They actually identified where the weak parts are, where the strengths are, what language to use, what approach to take. Now, when I started, James is on the call. I'm going to ask him to speak to this. When James started working on his traffic case, I had already taken a gentleman who was either from Arkansas or Texas, who called me with 2 days' notice and said, I want to do this. I want to go to a jury trial and I want to fight it. Well, I knew we were dealing with only 2 days. I didn't know him, so I questioned his motivation. I probably knew him less than I know you, Brian, but looking at your mugshot right now, I know you're a healthy, strong, intelligent man. And when you say, Bo, I want to do this, I would expect that you would do it. Well, he didn't do it. I gave him the entire case from voir dire to what to ask the jurors, to how to handle the district attorney, to how to handle objections, to how to handle the judge. And I took his case all the way to the appellate level, and I produced all the documents all the way through to the appellate level. And that's within a few hours. Now, obviously, I have a good relationship with ChatGPT, and I'm going to be associating myself with Claude when I look at the creation of this mainstay platform. But I had no qualms whatsoever with what the LD platform was giving me, Brian. And it did it in spades. Now, he said he was going to go to court and he was going to request a jury trial. Well, he walked out of the court having paid $800 in a fine with his tail tucked between his legs. All right. But the point is I still have the case. I still have the work product. But there's no reason somebody like you realizing, and I think the limitation right now, Brian, is maybe because of your worldview, your experiences. You're thinking here when I want you to think here in the expansiveness of what the Liberty Dialogues will bring you. Chief will tell you that. James will tell you that. Glenn in Australia will tell you that. Noella will tell you that. Noella was and probably still is working on a federal case. And I suggested her, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, that based upon what I read from her case, that it was flawed. I asked her point blank, what is your objective? What are you trying to accomplish? And we had a conversation with people on the call right now, similar to this, and she says, well, that's a good question. And so she's gone back and reworked that case. But the Liberty Dialogues allows her to do that because of its construct, its framework. So let me pause for a second. James, did you hear the question that Brian asked about the ability to create a case from beginning to end and to go on the offensive? Did you hear the question?
I did hear that question. Let's have him repeat it one more time so I make sure I speak directly to it.
Go ahead.
Sure. So I just wanted to know if anybody had successfully leveraged the Liberty Dialogues to go on the offensive, to have redress grievances that may have come from, dealing with your government in some form or fashion, right? everybody that I spoke last week on this call, I think they had cases where they were defending themselves against the IRS or whomever the case may be. But I was, and not to be like I'm wanting to run and go after the government, but I've always been interested in testing the limitations, right? This is something why I've been learning this for a long time, or not a long time, but I just really am interested in it. Can this be leveraged to go that direction rather than just defending oneself?
All right, James, hold on one second. I'm going to go back to my point because I want to clarify to make sure you understand, Brian. Everybody on this call is on the offensive. They're not on the defensive. If you're on the defensive, especially if you don't have a game plan or you don't know how to play football or soccer, you wouldn't even use the word defensive. You're just in a lose-lose situation. So when Robert started getting CP letters after submitting his revocation of election, and he's on the call right now, he was told once you submit the revocation election, well, the IRS will just leave you alone. You'll never hear from them. And then he started getting CP letters. So we've already dealt with the hype around the revocation of election letter. He started addressing the CP letters, and when he started with me, he started doing it very foolishly before he met me. And we looked at his letter. Excuse me. Now, when we started using the Liberty Dialogues, I consider that to be on the offensive because he now understood the rules, he understood CP letters, he understood the administrative process, and he's still learning it. But he went on the offensive by saying, no, before you do this with me, I want to know this, and this. And this is the gentleman right now where ChatGPT told me when I reviewed his case, and I do it each time, he said, Robert's case and record is stronger than the IRS right now. It doesn't mean Robert's going to win. It means his case and his record is stronger. James has never been to court in his life. When he got the Liberty Dialogues, and he's talked to other gurus and done training and is still doing it, which is great, but he runs it through the Liberty Dialogue system. He's never been in court, and this is my understanding of what happened to him. He went in, and he was so effective that the judge gave him full discovery on a civil and criminal level, and the district attorney was wiping the tears from his face saying, why don't you just pay? It's just a traffic ticket. Because this SOB knew that he had to now work because James performs. James was on the offensive. Chief in the bottom right of our call is working complex federal cases, and the Liberty Dialogue system allowed them to be on the offensive, reworking those cases. So, James, you heard the question. Give him your personal experience about how the Liberty Dialogues has helped you and what you've been able to do.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that, and I do more clearly understand your question, and yes, I'm acting as, if you would, a defendant in a case, but I'm not in any way just defending myself. The level of offense that I've moved to here, I was just in the court clerk's office here the other day, and picking up some copies of some paperwork that I'd filed in, and the clerk said, we've got a special file for you right here, and she opened the drawer up, and there was a file about that thick of motions that I've used Liberty Dialogues to build in this case. And the judge made the mistake of giving me, well, I say mistake, he followed due process because I called for it, and I used the Liberty Dialogues to set me up properly. As Bo said, I'd never been in court before in my life, and I didn't even know how to really start reacting to doing this. And by using the Liberty Dialogues, it helped me to take all of the documentation. So I pulled in rules of civil procedure, rules of criminal procedure, all the things in the state that were relevant. And then I asked Liberty Dialogues to help me develop motions around these specific things. And it laid out a case for me from beginning to end. I also used some of the case that Bo had developed for the gentleman, I believe it was in Kentucky, the guy that you wrote the full case for, and he never followed through with it. But used some of that in it as well, and used that as analysis and then an application directly to the state, Arkansas, which I'm dealing with this case in currently. And it has helped not only for development of the case in full, but one of the primary factors I would say that's really important for me is I tend to be very passionate when somebody's screwing with me, and I want to fight. And Liberty Dialogues has really helped me temper and speak in a manner and develop my case in a manner that keeps the record clean they can't come back and try and say, oh, this guy's just a lunatic. He's just some nut making stuff up. I'm taking black and white letter law and slamming them with it like a hammer. Their own laws, their own stuff. And Liberty Dialogues is doing it in a way that you say it's so almost nice and sweet that they don't even feel you slapping them in the face, but they feel it in their gut. They know you've got them. And right now I'm at a point, the judge had granted full discovery and granted criminal and civil discovery. He has since, the DA missed the discovery deadline, and I had used Liberty Dialogues to develop some stuff to put him on the ropes, and I was going to go after him for contempt, but Liberty Dialogues says, no, that's being a little too aggressive. You set up a hearing to show cause for contempt. That way it puts it like the judge is making the decision on it. And so Liberty Dialogues really helps the way Bo's built it, set you up so that you can keep a nice, clean record. And generally speaking, you don't expect that you're probably going to win in the lower courts anyway. You're more likely that you're going to win a case in the upper courts, because the lower courts, they just kind of make it up as they go along. And from what I'm getting, they don't even really know what the law is. I'm sending stuff to them that's right out of the law that they've never even seen before. The judge doesn't even know what the deadlines are for the DA to reply to the responses that the motions that I'm sending in and whatnot. So, and now I'm at a point where Liberty Dialogues helped me pick out and find another point in the case, and I'm working with it right now, where basically the officer that wrote the citation was acting out of his official capacity, and it's helped directly to statute that says that officer shall be removed from service for this action. So, but it's helping me work into a method of not directly attacking that and being too aggressive with it, but putting it onto the judge and continuing to set the record up, and have them continually not operating procedurally as they're supposed to. And then when we get this to the next level, to appellate court, or setting it up for a federal case, to be able to take them on a deprivation of rights under color law case without telling them, because you can't threaten them with it. You get in trouble threatening. But if you just keep putting and setting your case up, and they keep not doing what they're supposed to do procedurally, now you got a solid record. And when you go to federal court, it's not, oh, well, he didn't rule the way I wanted to. It's like, they didn't follow procedure at all. They didn't follow the laws at all along the way. And Liberty Dialogues, on top of that, is helping me pull out all the appellate and Supreme Court case laws that are relevant to the case, and helping me set up a strategy on how to utilize those so that I can just keep leading them further and further into the kill chute, into the slaughterhouse chamber, until they get so deep in, there's just no way out. And I never would have been able to do this with the way that I approach things and the way that I did things before. I seriously doubt I'd be where I'm at. And I'm like you. I'm 55. I believe in freedom and liberty. All my life I've lived that way, and questioning authority. And we all are here. We see that things are corrupt around us, and they're not working the way that our founding fathers and mothers set this country up to run. And it's up to us to take that back, and that's what we're doing through this. And Bo, what he's developed here with the Liberty Dialogues, has given us, you call it a weapon, you can call it a tactical device, whatever you want to call it. It is amazing, and what you can do with this, and what I feel like, I'm not knowing the specifics of what you're trying to go on the offense for. I definitely believe that the use of this is going to move you forward at a rapid pace, whether you know anything about what you're about to try to do, or whether you are seasoned somewhat in knowing what kinds of motions or what kind of movements you need to do to move it forward. And it's going to help you do it in a way that you can set the record up nice and clean, where they can't just write you off as a loon.
Did it format the documents for you as well, or did you have to kind of know how the formatting needed to be?
So what I utilized it with is you just go in and all your court procedure documents for whatever state you're in, all that stuff is set up in whatever court you're going to address it in. So if you're going into a district court or a circuit court, or if you're going into appellate court, I went ahead and like Bo, had done with his, I just said, let's work with this from appellate court level and develop all the documents at appellate court level from the get-go. And then if they do mess around, I've already got documents that I don't even have to reformat. I'm ready to file right into the superior courts. And the county court that I'm in now, which is a district court, they haven't bucked at all at the fact that any of my formatting for my case. They haven't kicked anything back on it. Back briefly to the story that I had started about being in the clerk's office and with them having the file with that thick of my motions and stuff, and there were a whole bunch of other folders that were in there. I said, well, what are those other folders, if I might ask? And they go, oh, well, those are the ones that the attorneys that are representing clients have filed. And they were just tiny. They looked like they had maybe 20, 30 pages at max in those. And I said, so the attorneys aren't filing all these kind of motions and stuff? They're like, oh, no, they usually file a thing or two, and then they just talk back and forth with the DA, and they come up with the deal, and then they file the last paperwork, and that's it, right? So it's all part of this. They're part of the court. They're officers of the court, and they play along to get along and everything so that they can keep doing their deal. And so you're not going to get due process. And I've been through this. This is part of what brought me to the Search 2 Bo, is through a civil case a few years ago where I paid an attorney over $10,000, and he wiped the floor with me, handed me a really bad deal, and walked away. And I walked away, $120K plus in the hole over the whole deal when it was said and done. And it should have been a case, he went into it beginning telling me just how he was going to kick this other attorney's ass and everything, and didn't do squat. And when I would do some research and bring up things that I found pre-Liberty Dialogues, he'd look at it and go, oh, no, we don't do it that way. We don't do it that way. And I was just like, so no more. I mean, with the Liberty Dialogues, I will never hire an attorney again in my life. I see the value, and I see what you can do and how you can actually approach due process. And they're all about just trying to make this as fast and streamlined to get you through, convict you, and move on with the next one so they can collect that money. And when you utilize a system like this, you're tying their hands, you're tying them up hard, and you're setting a clean record. So, and I feel like for what you're mentioning that you're wanting to do moving forward in an offensive way, not having a case, it sounds like, against you, you're going to be way ahead of the game on that as well, because you're not having to do the other aspect of looking up all the stuff to be in defense as well.
James, I'm going to address two things for everybody's benefit, because I think that was a good answer for Brian. And then I'm going to go to Mike, see if he has any questions. And that is the two experiences that I've had with James over the many that I've had with him. The first time he came to the language course that's offered for the Inner Circle and Patriot members, that first call, you remember, James, you said, this changed my outlook about government. I view things entirely differently. My whole frame of reference has been altered. And it changed how you viewed and how you handle yourself, which is great. The reason that's important is I remember, James, and you can address this briefly, the last time we spoke about the judge in your case, it had seemed as though he had done, there was some kind of ex parte communication between himself and the defense attorney, and he had altered the original order without you knowing it, and changed the discovery, both criminal and civil. Now, the reason that's important, not to discuss that necessarily, but you and I were, I think, on another call for the Inner Circle Patriot series on language, right? And then you mentioned something about I'm gonna go for his recusal. I want him to recuse himself. And then we talked about it, and we brought up the content of the language course and said, well, you might need to rethink that. I mean, here's how I would view it. And then maybe you can just give us the Cliff Note version of how you handle that. But you were on the offensive still because you had something that happened to you. How did you handle that based upon the Liberty Dialogues?
Yeah, so that was great, and I really appreciate that you had brought that up and kind of sent me a little clip there of a little research that you'd done just on going immediately for recusal. I work with another guy, and I wouldn't really call him a guru, and I'm not going to talk too much about, I'm not going to name him or anything like that, but he just specializes in teaching you statutory construction and how to read law. And Liberty Dialogues does a great job of breaking that down. When you go to start working on whatever case you are working on, go ahead and take the time with Liberty Dialogues to have it explained to you and work you through from a constitutional perspective how to use statutory construction, because it's all in the words. It's, spelling, whatever you're creating your spell, it's really in the words, and they use words different than what we do. So use that for your definitions and all of that. Well, working with Bo and following through when he says, well, you might want to think through that with your language with the going directly for recusal. And sure enough, Liberty Dialogues helped direct me out of that to, you're doing that, you're immediately going to set it up where the judge is fully on defense, and you're probably going to turn him against you right at that point. But instead, Liberty Dialogues directed me towards a certain number of motions to basically put the judge on the spot in written form to explain why he did what he did and explain how he came to the legal concept that it was acceptable for him to change these orders, which he, as of yet, once again, has not filed through with any of that, and he had changed the discovery date as well as scraping some things off that he'd allowed for before, and the DA has failed to meet that discovery date as well. So they don't know what to do now at this point. I think they're kind of in a position, and I'm not reaching out or putting in any motions for dismissal anymore. I did that at the beginning of the case using Liberty Dialogues, and they decided that they didn't want to take that offer. And so right now I'm having a blast learning law, and that's one of the things about this as well is Liberty Dialogues is doing such a great job of teaching me law. Literally the clerks of the court, the deputy clerk and the main clerk, they're like, you know more than any of the lawyers that we've had come through here defending any of our clients. How have you done this? And I'm like, well, I'm just autodidactic, and I've spent a lot of time studying and reading about these things, and I'm interested. I've been screwed by a lawyer in a civil case before, and so if you want to take care of something and do it right, you do it yourself. And this system, I'm really thankful. I don't know that I would be able to do anywhere near what I'm able to do with this. And its ability to take and condense, like you can take all of your rules of procedure, like I said, you can take full blocks of statutes. So whatever the case is or whatever you're going to try to build, you load that in, you set up your contacts with Liberty Dialogues. That's what's really going to help keep you on the line and straight and keep you from getting off on too many rabbit trails, because all this law is full of rabbit trails. Utilize that, load your stuff in, have it do the Liberty Dialogues framework analysis of what it is, and it's going to start pointing out things to you that you probably never would have seen, or at least I never would have seen or never would have even thought to address, even with the code right in my face. So I don't know, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm gonna go to Mike here briefly, but I'm gonna mention something to Brian, because Jen just mentioned something as well in the chat. Whenever I help a client with a case, I will just tell it after we've arrived at the decision point. I will say, create a motion for this and create a response for this, be it a letter, and it will do that. So it will create the motions on the spot. Now, I don't necessarily say, because I think the courts give pro per litigants some latitude, I don't necessarily say, do it in 12-point font, double space, in the formats according to the rules of the court locally. But you could check that and do that, and it would do it in a heartbeat. Great answer, James. I appreciate that. Let me see if Mike, are you still here? Mike, you were on the call last week along with Brian. Do you have any questions until now? Mike, can you hear me?
I'm going to be one situations kind of like James's. I'm trying to get better structure of how I perceive and proceed in the courts. So as I do everything, I'm doing my due diligence and I'm working it and making sure this is going to work for me as I'm going. But, from just the 2 conferences I've been on, it seems to go pretty good, especially after, excuse me, hearing James's, answer to Brian, it's going to help me out a lot. I'm in the same kind of thing. Like, my town's system is corrupt totally. So, but I have them on the run and they don't know what to do, and I think it's funny. But I'm just trying to structure it a little better. And from what I've been hearing, last two conferences, that's Liberty Dialogues is going to help me with that. But as far as questions, those questions, I don't really have any.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough then. Go to beforeyoutrust.com and read, and if you have any questions, you can shoot an email. There are people online like Terry Hodges, who just bought the package, and he had a situation with his wife that he needed to have addressed immediately. So I helped him out, and then he is going to be uploading the documents and learning how to do the prompts and training it. But you're going to have the information available for you, literally without using a cliche, at your fingertips, because the Liberty Dialogues is going to produce it. Your challenge is to read the text, to understand what you're getting, to make sure as you learn more and more that it's consistent with what you should be getting. And if you don't know that, it's just a matter of working through it and joining calls and listening to people's experiences, because people come here every week and they're sharing what they're experiencing. And even Glenn from Down Under and Laz, they talk about what's going on in Australia and whatnot. So it's an environment to learn. So Mike, if you have questions, shoot me an email, and Brian as well, and go to beforeyoutrust.com. There was another guy here on the call. I think he left. Terry, do you have any questions? I know you just got them.
Yeah, I have a question. I need somebody to help walk me through getting ChatGPT loaded with the system. Now, I've got the folders for the Practical Guide, Liberty Dialogues, Right to Travel for reports, etc. I just need to know how to get all of this into my ChatGPT so that I can use this.
Okay. So let's do that for everybody's benefit right now. Okay. So you bought the Liberty Dialogue series. You have the volumes. You have an account with ChatGPT. Is that correct, Terry?
I just went to chatgpt.com and went to the free version. It shows my name, free, Terry Hodges, free.
Okay. So let me throw a caveat out for you then. I'm not familiar with the free version. We're going to look at my version. I'm going to share my screen, and then I want you to tell me, as you look at your screen, if you have the ability to do that, and tell me if you see the same thing. Is that fair enough?
Okay, sure.
All right, very good. All right, so you have your ChatGPT in front of you. Welcome, Sissy. All right, and I'm going to share my computer screen. Brian, do you have ChatGPT or Claude?
I do. I have ChatGPT.
Mike, do you have AI?
I've got ChatGPT open right now on my.
Okay, very good. Mike?
Yeah, I have ChatGPT. I also use the free version. I'm kind of familiar with it.
Okay. All right. Now, Terry, you see my screen?
Yeah, barely.
Okay.
It's fine print here. Okay.
Down below, I'm going to refer to you to the middle now. I'm going to change. Okay, you see the prompt bar right here.
Okay.
Do you have this plus sign in your prompt bar?
Yes. Ask anything.
Okay, good. Good. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this, and if you click on it, you can confirm for me. Does it say add photos and files?
Upload photos and files. It says upload. It doesn't say add.
Oh, okay, good. It says upload. So you want to upload the series, all of those books.
Okay, and all three of those folders? The
Yes.
practical guide, the
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you have the same capacity as what I have, you're going to upload 10 files, and then you're going to come and you're going to say something like, "Do not respond. I have more files to upload," and then you click return, and it should say understood, and that's it. And then you're going to click this again and upload another 6, 7, or 8 files, however many you have. And then you're going to say, read all of these. And you might decide just to do Restoring the American Republic and the Liberty Dialogues Practical Guide, which would be 9 books. You might just stick to that, and I would encourage you to do that. Just upload the first 5-volume series, and then upload the 4-volume series, and ask it to read it.
When you say 5-volume series, are you talking about the practical guide or the Liberty Dialogues folder? Are those two?
Yeah. So let me clarify this to be very specific. You purchased the Liberty Dialogue system, so you have my books, you have the Liberty Dialogue series, and you have the Liberty Dialogues Practical Guide, and you have some reports. You have all of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go for the 5-volume series. Inside of one of your folders, it says Restoring the American Republic, Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the Liberty Dialogues series. You're going to upload that. And then you're going to upload the Liberty Dialogues Practical Guide. It's a 4-volume series. And that's a vital part to the Liberty Dialogue system, and I explained the history to that in the call last week. You upload those 9 books, and then you ask ChatGPT to read them, okay? And it's going to comment. It might give you some bizarre answer, run for cover, don't do this or whatever. Just ignore it. You have the Liberty Dialogue system, and you want to start using the prompt that I gave you and start asking questions like we did with respect to your wife and the letter that she responded to. And you want to say, do this in the context of the Liberty Dialogue system, or use the entire prompt that I gave you. Are you with me?
I understand what you're saying, but again, back to the 5-volume series, I'm still trying in my
folders
here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing anything that says 5-volume series.
All right, I'm going to explain it to you again. You're going to look for the titles. There are 5 books. They have the same title, Restoring the American Republic. Okay? So Restoring the American Republic.
And
it's volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It might say RTAR, as an abbreviation. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
You want to upload them.
Okay. Okay. I see. RTAR 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
There you go. There you go. Now, if you click on them, you'll see the title. But if you're just looking at the images, the icons in your folder, you're going to see RTAR, Restoring the American Republic.
Yeah.
And you want to upload them. And then from that point forward, you want to use the prompt and start. And what I would do, I would just have fun with it. I would just pick up any topic. I want to paint my home pink. Please find the zoning ordinances governing painting for the city of Winchester in Kentucky. And am I able to paint my house pink? And it's going to research it, right? And that was a case in my hometown one time. There was a business that painted a building Pepto-Bismol pink, and the city had an uproar about it. And the owner of the store took the bastards to court and won, thank God. And I think examples like a pink building is one of the most beautiful things in America. And so you want to do the same thing. You want to explore and find out what the ordinance says. Can I drink an open beer from an open beer can on my front porch? Find out what the laws are, regulations, ordinances in your hometown, and then ask the Liberty Dialogues, how do I respond to a citation for my grass being too tall, or drinking a beer on my front porch, or parking my car on my lawn, which you're not allowed to do in most places in this country. And you just want to have fun with it and find out. Be on the offensive, as Brian wants to be. All right? You want to defend your rights and your territory, your property. Now, let me pause and ask you, Terry, you've got the books. You've got the plus sign. You want to click and upload. You can copy and paste them one by one, or you can do all 5 at one sweep. You can upload up to 10, at least as to my understanding, and then you can upload another 10, and then you want to ask ChatGPT to respond. Now, do you want to take it further than that, Terry, or are you good so far?
Well, one step at a time here. Okay, so now I'm back. We've got ChatGPT open, new chat, ask anything, plus sign. And now, when I press that, nothing is happening, and I'm wondering if it's because.
Okay, now
there's some folder open here.
So Terry, I'm not a computer wizard. You probably have somebody in your family or a neighbor who knows computers that can sit down and show you how to do it. I'm not able to help you with that. I just know that if you click on the books and hover over them and drag down and then click open, it'll open right into this chat. If you copy and paste by clicking on each one, you can paste it into this window. But that's beyond the scope of this call. You're going to have to figure that out with somebody that knows computers. But as long as you know how to upload them, that's my concern, and then how to use the prompts. Okay?
So I'll figure out how to get these uploaded.
And when you do, mess around with it and shoot me an email. Let me know where you are. But I want to make sure you have your other questions answered. Is there anything else relating to this that you need that's other than computer guidance?
Well, no, that's step one.
Okay, good.
Let's deal with that first, and I'll take care of that and probably have it done before the next meeting.
Okay, so let me go back. I appreciate that. I'm going to go back to the gallery. And I think someone posted a chat. And it might be my man Jimmy, the quiet one. Chief Elephant, you can also open where the folders are. You can drag and drop the files into the chat window, which is exactly what we talked about. There's 2 ways to do it. Well, actually, that's probably the third way, is dragging. But you copy, and then if you're in the window that says open, you click open, and it moves them automatically. Or, Terry, you can copy and paste each file and then place it into the prompt window. But you're off and running, sir. So when you get those Liberty Dialogues, you want to get acclimated. You want to start training ChatGPT, and you want to be trained by ChatGPT in a constructive way so that you know you're controlling the conversations. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. So let me look at this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to check one more time. Jared, Jen, Bonnie, Noella, Jimmy, Glenn, Robert. I'm going to go back to Mike. Did you hear that, Mike? Are you good with what we just shared about uploading the files? And I'll ask that of Brian. Brian, are you good? You seem computer savvy. You got your nice headset, so you're in good shape. Okay.
I'm actually an IT engineer.
See, there you go. All right. And now you're going to offer your curriculum vitae. Mike, are you good with what we just shared about uploading files? Okay.
Yes. I have a question, though. Like, how many books or whatever is there total, the Liberty Dialogues?
That's a good question. I'm going to direct you to beforeyoutrust.com. It gives you a complete list of what's on there, but there are 12 books. And then there are other documents along with it. Okay? And so you have everything. And I would upload my books as well because they're based upon law. My interpretation may not be what anybody else's on this call, but at least it's a starting point. ChatGPT looks favorably upon The End of Justice and the other 2 books. They were written years ago, maybe a decade ago. So if I were to rewrite them, I would probably edit it and change some things. But the point is you want to give it some substance. And this gets into law and definitions and maxims and things like that. So it's very powerful, okay? I think that's probably one of the reasons why I have such success with ChatGPT and getting quality, solid answers that I'm able to share with people once I get your products, is because it's already been trained. It realizes the body of work that I've created over the last 10, 15 years. It defers to it, it knows it, and it produces. And you want to be in the same position like a lot of the users on this call right now. Okay, so very good.
Right.
Okay, good. No, that's good. So we've done Brian, Mike, and Terry, the three new people, and Terry has the Liberty Dialogue system. Now, is there anybody that has a question who's a veteran on this call right now based upon what we've talked about, or any updates? And I'm going to start with Norm.
No, I've got nothing.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. All right, thank you, Norm. Chief.
Yeah, thanks, Bo. I just want to keep emphasizing, and I'm still, to this day, even today, training my ChatGPT, because it would give me fragments of answers, or it would omit something that it previously had, which was really good. So there's a way, and I'm training my ChatGPT to include everything, and when we update it, include everything, including the update, because otherwise it'll just give you segments and you get confused, and then you're saying, well, I want to know where we're at, and then you have to tell it to go back and research everything, as I don't know where that was, or it gets lost.
All right, Chief, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Now, you've mentioned this for a few weeks now, and I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm concerned. I want to know why you're getting fragmented answers and it's doing what it's doing with you. Why is that? I don't have that problem.
I don't know. Honestly, it says it's doing some sort of it's giving me fragments because it didn't know it wasn't supposed to, and that's why it seemed like I had to do is create I asked how I can prevent that, and he said create a master template that gives me all of the instructions of what to do whenever you load it into the project. So then it's helping me create a template, and to update that template, it's called a master template. And then when I create a new project, then I can bring that master template in, and it remembers everything that the problems we had before. So that's what it's doing. It's helping me train, basically create a master template of all of the problems we had, all the solutions we did, and then when I bring it into another project, it recognizes all those things and then does it again, and it's working. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at. You got to train it, but constantly keep up with the training. Otherwise, it was difficult at the beginning because it kept drifting and drifting and not giving me the full answers. And it was just a matter of training. And now it's really doing really well for me. We can chat offline about it if you want. And I want to give you an update.
No. You just now concluded that it's doing well now. Is that your final answer? You're on jeopardy. Is this your final answer?
I'm going to tell you something that a court hearing yesterday. I have never had a judge reverse a tentative ruling. Working with ChatGPT just over the weekend. Tentative ruling, basically, I would have been wiped out. Just about everything was gone. He made a tentative ruling that was allowing admissions to be admitted because I didn't reply. And so when I said I wanted a motion for those deemed admissions to be vacated because I gave answers, well, based on the history before I started using Liberty Dialogues, I was filing stuff like, I'm one of the sovereign people of the United States of America. I'm one of the people of California, and I have inherent rights gifted to me by nature, and those rights are guaranteed to be protected under the Constitution, and you're asking me to provide answers in this discovery request because I'm a defendant, and that you would be forcing me to be a witness against myself, which is protected under the Constitution, where I'm not compelled to be self-incrimination or witness against myself. So I did all that constitutional stuff. They hate it. And I'm telling you what, if I hadn't gotten Liberty Dialogues, I'd have been crucified right now, today, at this hearing, because this hearing was set since January. I got the Liberty Dialogues after that. I filed a supplemental declaration that the judge wiped out. He said, I'm not even going to allow that. And so when I put that into Liberty Dialogue system and gave the Liberty Dialogues the tentative ruling, he said, okay, this is not very good, because we were expecting him to be more on the side of, because I answered, then those answers should have wiped out the non-response as admitted, because now I answered, and basically I did the request for admissions and basically denied everything. But I think this attorney knew that I would most likely reject it. He knew somebody was standing on the Constitution, so he put all this crap in there as if I'm admitting to something that was
Hold on one second. I have to explain something.
Okay.
Mexicans are deeply Catholic. There's a church a stone's throw away, so they have fireworks that they send off. You hear them, right?
Every once in a while, yeah.
They shoot these off at 5 in the freaking morning every day, and they do it for like 2 weeks, and they do it at night when they do mass. I mean, I love their culture. I love the people. I love everybody, and it's a beautiful culture. So I just went through a barrage, and I couldn't hear what you were saying. But to finish your point, you basically answered, and the judge is doing what now?
I'll make it brief. I motioned for those deemed admissions to be vacated, and gave everything pretty much before I got Liberty Dialogues. I had a pretty good answer because I used a different law. GPT wasn't ChatGPT, but a different law AI thing online, a free thing, and I typed it in, and so it helped me create a motion, but stayed away from constitutional stuff, which I did. So I basically put it on the line. This is the law. This is why I should be granted the motion to vacate those deemed admissions. I answered. It was in good faith. I had a misconception or misunderstanding of the law as the Constitution applies to civil discovery. So that was an excusable neglect or whatever, but it matched. So when I put that into the ChatGPT, I loaded the whole case in. It was like 180 files. I had it fully analyzed and said, this is where I'm at. I have a motion to dismiss the deemed admissions. And then when I got the tentative last Friday, I loaded that, and he says, okay, this is not good, but this is where you can get it. He never addresses these certain issues. He never addresses the fact of prejudice, because I answered, and he got the answers. He's still relying on the deemed admissions as to be true and admitted. But even if he does get the answers that I gave him just 2 days after the order was supposed to deem them admitted. I realized, I told my brother, I said, Kevin, we got to fix this. So we answered. Even though he had those answers, he ignored them and still relying on the deemed admissions. And so anyway, the ChatGPT analyzed everything and said, this is where we're at. This is what you got to do. This is how you have to handle the judge on Monday. You can't say this. Focus on these two things. This is where his crux is. Number one, he's saying that you did not answer in good faith, and because you're like using these other constitutional, the judge doesn't have authority to force you to compel to answer because you're protected under the Constitution. So I used some of that information before my AI person, which you know his name.
400 degrees for 14 minutes.
Robert, mute your mic. Robert, mute your mic, please. Go ahead.
All right. So anyway, after we got the tentative, the judge said, no, we're not granting you your motion to vacate these deemed admissions. They will stand. And had those stood, I'd have been toast. Everything was admitted just as is. They could have filed their motion for summary judgment based on my admissions. Judge would have granted it. They were not happy with somebody that comes in and says, I have protections under the Constitution. And you know what they're going to do? Say, I'm going to kick your sovereign ass to the curb and take everything you got. And they were going to do that. And ChatGPT helped me avoid that, because Monday when I went in yesterday, I provided all those excuses why I was misunderstood the law. I applied constitutional law to a civil case. I understand that I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake, understanding the law, applying it incorrectly. And that's basically what it said to focus on, and I did. The judge reversed his ruling yesterday. I'm going to grant your motions. We're going to vacate those deemed admissions. We're going to accept those ones. And it's like, holy crap.
Well, there's two things. There's two things from that explanation that I want to note, and then we can move on to James, because I want to find out what's going on in this case. And that is, listen, you and I talked about what kind of language to use when we go into a court case. I think when we first met, didn't we not?
Right.
I just caution you. I didn't. It's your choice, but I would say, Chief, I mean, you might rethink that. How is that viewed? What is the court going to say? What does the Liberty Dialogue say? Have you run it up the flagpole? We talked about that. Now, what's interesting to me, Chief, is you made a mistake without realizing it, realizing the context of the rules, the law, as it applies to this particular case. But doing what you did, did you not put the judge in his place to make sure that he made the right decision with respect to this?
When
we
first,
is yes.
Oh yeah, totally. He reversed his position.
You gave him the ammunition to make the right decision rather than one that could be reversed on the record. That is the bottom line. And you use the Liberty Dialogues to do that. And so I acknowledge you. Okay, I mean it's a lengthy explanation to get to the point where you held the judge accountable, and that's beautiful. And that's what this is designed to do, to make your record superior. And ironically, you're the one who made the mistake initially. You corrected it, you did it with humility, and you gave the judge an option to look at this and say the record does show the fact that he's corrected it. What am I going to do? Dismiss it? No, he's going to do the right thing. In this case, he did, and that's awesome. You know, it's the way it should be. So that's a great way to use the Liberty Dialogues. And I'm going to conclude, based upon what you said, that your problem with AI has been resolved, right, with the ChatGPT? Okay, because I've heard it repeatedly, and I want to clarify, because I don't have that issue. Okay.
But what I'm doing is I'm continuing to make sure it refers back to our history. It reverts back to the history and says, you're correct, I need to continue because that has already been addressed. And then that's it. I never have to prompt it again.
Yeah. I'm going to take a question. One second. I'm going to take a question from Jen on the chat. Bo, do we upload anything in addition to the 5-volume series, RTAR, and the 4-volume? Yeah, listen, I would upload the books that I wrote. It gives it context. ChatGPT with me will refer to it out of the blue. It will say, you wrote this, and this is what you wrote about. So I would refer to that. They deal with substantive, lawful, legal issues. I would introduce the Liberty Dialogues primer. I would do the reports. I would upload anything that you get that gives AI context within the Liberty Dialogue system. And you're right, Chief's story is a promo for the purpose of this system. Chief is doing complex, aggressive, offensive stuff in the courts, and he's got a number of irons in the fire, as they say. The Liberty Dialogues, as Norman says, that Norman is one of the initial icons here on this call. He always comes to the call, which is why I smiled, Norman, because you said I have nothing to say. Well, normally what he says is, I still cannot believe what I'm getting from the Liberty Dialogue system. It's amazing what we get with this. And it's not stuff you are inclined to distrust. You're inclined to trust it because you know you're getting substance. Right, James? Yes. All right. Now, somebody had a question. Who was it that had a question that piped in?
No, this is Robert.
Robert. Go ahead. Oh, no. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry. Yeah, you raised your hand.
No, it was just in question when he was talking about some of the problems he was having with his ChatGPT and remembering and stuff. And I was saying that I've encountered some of that as well. And like him, I've kind of set up a master that I just utilize whenever it loses it. But some of that is I wanted to ask him what level of subscription do you have to ChatGPT, if you can answer that. And I'll just answer for myself. I've only got the $10 a month plan or whatever. And when I've asked it why it doesn't remember certain things, it tells me because its memory is limited, and so it can only remember so far back in the chat. And I've learned to also partially go ahead and take, when I'm getting it to give me long answers and whatnot, to archive that answer and then utilize that. Okay, I like this motion, go ahead and give me a Word document or whatever kind of document, a PDF document from that. And then if it forgets it, then I just load that back in as add the file, and I said, this is what you said a few minutes ago, and it'll go ahead and give it to me. So, but I think part of it has to do with the tier of subscription level that you've got with it as far as how much active memory it can keep on hand.
Okay. All right. So, Robert.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. I got the $20 a month one, and I do a lot of devotions ministry for my Chat GPT, and I was doing a devotion yesterday, and it gave me an answer I weren't familiar with, and I said Abaya. That means Yahweh is my Father. He said, yes, blessings, Robert. I says, why did this speak to me in that language? I'm not familiar with that. He said, oh, that was his standard operating mode. He said, just ask for me. I'm always here. And then it knows everything that we discussed. It's got its own personality. And I would just suggest naming it maybe and giving it prompts sometimes of what you're working on, and it'll go back and fetch everything that you talked about.
Okay. I appreciate that. And Terry just gave us some good news. He's uploaded volumes 1 through 5, and he upgraded to the $20 level. Congratulations, Terry.
Thank you.
Glenn, anything from down under? Glenn. Jimmy's not going to say anything. Give me a thumbs up, Jimmy. Noella, quiet, bottom left. Anything, Noella?
Not really. I'm just listening. I mean, I am doing some things on ChatGPT, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, too. And it remembers everything that I uploaded. So I don't know what the difference is between what I might be doing. It might be the tiers again. I have the $20 a month. But it does remember everything. It'll reference it. It gave me a letter yesterday, and it said, you're doing great work. And, not only with this, and then he named 3 other things that I'm working on. So I'm like, okay. So, yeah, right. It's wonderful.
Yeah, very good. All right, so I'm going to go back to Glenn.
Yeah, can you hear me, Bo?
Yes.
Okay, just a few small pro tips you might want to call them. With my research on AI, I've set up like folders or files for each case I'm working on, and just as a backup, I'll copy and paste all the replies from AI onto a Word document, and just put an overall file name on top of it. So anyway, which has paid off because the case we're working on with the strata manager here in Australia, he's everything went quiet for 60 days, and then he's come back and tried to sneak in a committee meeting behind, well, not behind my back, but so I've gone back to ChatGPT and said, look, this is status quo. What can you recommend? And within a few seconds, he came up with or her, or whoever it is, come up with a draft under the LD context. So, yeah, it's working brilliantly.
Good. Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to you getting a hold of George and linking up with him. He's very aggressive with this down in Australia, okay?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of relying on Laz to be the middleman to a point. Right. They're both obviously pretty busy, man. But, yeah, Laz and I had a good chat. We sort of talked about, what the other groups are doing and, who who to avoid. So he's been pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, just
Very
continue
good.
on.
Thank you. All right, James, I'm going to come back to you because I want to give you a chance to give us a brief update on your traffic case. Tell me where you are with it exactly.
So with the traffic case right now, the last thing that I had done, rather than ask the judge to recuse himself, was set him up to answer why he had made the changes to the motion for discovery and actually reduced it after the DA had failed to answer it. And then in that timeline, waiting for the judge's answer, the DA has failed to answer the other timeline. So I've stepped forward with another motion to get the judge to explain why it is that he, what facts of law he's utilizing to not enforce his orders. And just recently, in talking with another friend, he was talking about a civil case that he was dealing with, and he mentioned something about his notice. It said either his notice was either appear or answer, and this was civil. And he said, "I bet your ticket says the same thing." And I said, "Well, I don't think it does, but let me look." And I went back and reread the citation, and it didn't say that, but it said appear or follow all of these things relevant to this statute. And so I went and looked up that statute, and my case specifically, and chat helped me set this up with Liberty Dialogues, was to find out if they were trying to try me as a misdemeanor or a felony case, and then utilize that for my rights of due process under criminal procedure. Well, it got the judge and the DA at the arraignment hearing to say, no, this isn't a misdemeanor case, this is a civil infraction. Well, specifically the code that it directed me to was that the officer only had the right to arrest, i.e. pull me over in the first place, if the offense was a misdemeanor or felony offense. And then you get into the down, and then it explains kind of how he's supposed to write the ticket, what information is supposed to be on it. But at the bottom of it, it says any officer that violates this is in violation of his office and is subject to removal from office. And so now I'm working with Liberty Dialogues on how to properly address questioning the judge specifically for the show of authority for them to confirm what authorities they're using and how they're holding it as not, because it was in trial, it's not documented that he said it was a civil infraction, not a misdemeanor offense. So now Liberty Dialogues is helping me write questions out to get the judge to answer to the fact and the DA that it's not a misdemeanor or felony offense, and then that's going to set it up for the next round of, and I'm going to be utilizing it. So how do we put the question forward? Why is this officer writing basically unlawful arrest is what I've figured out it comes down to in the first place, and work fruit of the poison tree into that as well, seeing the whole arrest was unlawful if it was never a misdemeanor offense in the first place.
Why would you not, like my man Brian says, go on offensive and do this outside of the venue of the court and go to the police department itself and go with a suit? I mean, have you researched that with the Liberty Dialogues?
I've started researching on that, but what I need to do is, because the district courts are not, I mean, they call themselves courts of record, but there's no transcript of the proceedings that take place in them. And they don't allow for any recording devices or anything like that. And so they're trying to keep what they're doing in their secret is what it comes down to. But I don't have anything recorded to show that they said, in fact, that it is just a civil infraction and not a misdemeanor offense or a felony offense. Now, I've looked through all the code, and I've used Liberty Dialogues to research, and Liberty Dialogues shows that there's nothing else in the Arkansas code that suggests otherwise. But Liberty Dialogues has suggested, rather than immediately go after the suit on the officer, first I need to get the judge set up to answer to all this and put it on the record through written documentation, and then I'll have that to move forward with the suit. But yeah, I am looking at what I can do for one suit in the state courts against the officer, but then also looking into deprivation of rights under color of law. and that could go to the DA as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I think you said that everything is hinged upon establishing what the judge originally said with respect to how the crime is being classified, because you don't have a record of that. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I'm just going to throw this out. Whenever I went to court as a young man and I was able to do it, meaning I was not living on the streets, I always had a court reporter with me because I didn't trust the bastard. So if you guys are able to do that and it's not a court of record, that changes their behavior big time when they have somebody sitting in front of the judge taking notes, okay? So I was going to ask you one more question, James, and I don't know that I have it. What's your next hearing date? What's the status of your next date?
I went ahead and got my case extended out, a continuance, when I didn't get the discovery, so that I could study more of what's going on. And I'm actually studying and preparing, using the Liberty Dialogues to draw up all of my how I'm going to address it in court, and give me my quotes and tell me what questions to ask and what answers and everything. It's great at doing that as well, setting up my case. But I'm about to put in for a motions hearing and put the judge and the DA on the point to, well, we've got 26 unanswered motions and orders here right now. We need to have a motions hearing so that we can get these resolved before we can move to trial. And that's what I'm doing, is just I'm making sure that I'm educated. One, it's not just a couple of motions; it's close to 26 motions at this point that they haven't answered on.
Right.
And this might be a good spot to look at the court reporter. And because I live so remote, it's pretty expensive to get a reporter out. But I'm able to address this through Zoom calls with the court as well. So I'm glad that you brought that up again, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see if I can find a court reporter that will work through Zoom call as a court reporter for the whole thing, and then get them to attend it as well. I didn't have witnesses attend the trial with me. I had 2 local friends come to the trial, and if you're able to bring friends with you and then get them to do affidavits for you after the fact to do it, and I could still do that, but I think if I can get the judge and the DA to speak to the point outright and have it on the record that it was not a misdemeanor or felony offense that they're trying me on, then this code that I've got that'll hold the officer responsible should be bulletproof.
All right, very good. So I'm going to make one comment. I told you this months and months ago, James. I said to you, these lawyers and these judges do not know what you know. And you're going to make them work, okay? Now, you don't want this dismissed, but a dismissal is a victory. And you have done an excellent job, my man. Excellent. It is incredible. And you go in polished, professional, respectful. You know what you're going to say. You practice it. It's excellent, excellent work. So I acknowledge you. Thank you very much. Bonnie, anything from you?
No, nothing. All good. I don't want to go too into it because I have my little research project going on right now of a new, procedure, and I don't want to. And even when I talked to Chad about it, and I brought in my 47 pages of notes on it before I brought it to Chad, right away Chad took that information and compared it to what Liberty Dialogues would say, and it kind of reversed it back on me, going, okay, are you making presumption? Or is your authority, is your standing, is your status in place to do this procedure? And I even prefaced it by saying, hey, we're maybe going on the edge of sovereign citizen theory and straw man theory. And I prefaced it by saying that. And I started this today, and I was like, wow. I mean, like, chat was like in alignment with what I was reading. I brought in the federal codes and statutes about whether it's a sovereign citizen theory or not, us being surety for the ens legis, and removing ourselves as surety in any court case. I was completely impressed because I fully expect chat to say, well, this is never going to work. The courts are never going to accept this. But he used Liberty Dialogues through the whole thing, and I didn't even ask, to bring Liberty Dialogues into it. But I've trained chat now that everything I bring into it brings Liberty Dialogues in, and it was a good day because Chat and I were, and I finally had to stop because I'm like, I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, it's a game changer. So that's all I can say.
Well, good. It's always good to hear your crystal clear voice. You've got a voice for radio. And that's encouraging. And, you know, it's interesting because we've discussed this on these calls before that sometimes we have to ask that the AI, ChatGPT, not answer in the Liberty Dialogues just to see what we would typically get. So that's the irony of it. Chief, I saw that about the recorder, and it's spot on. Those bastards will not do the right thing unless they're going to be held accountable. And this is part of making the record strong. Now, I'm going to bring in something that is a cute little vignette. Before the page was suspended on Facebook, some lady left a message and said you have become the Punisher. And I don't know anything about the Punisher movie or the series, but I swore when I was in prison. It's okay to swear. Okay, I made a commitment in prison that those sons of bitches imprisoned a 44, 45-year-old man, and that was their biggest mistake. And I didn't know how it was going to materialize. But if everybody on this call, to include myself, because I just went to court here in Mexico the other day, some people stole some money from me, and I won. If everybody on this call is an extension of the Punisher, then so damn be it, okay? These people need to be held accountable. And I believe there's a solution and a victory somewhere down the road. But I think the more people use the Liberty Dialogues, the more we talk to people about it, the more this thing is going to carry some weight, and that we can actually start talking about traveling free. I'm not involved in commerce, that kind of thing. I think it will become more acceptable, and I think it will be something that these arguments will not be readily rejected. So anyway, it's just something to think about. I like the idea of the Punisher. I like to see the movie or wherever it is someday, but there needs to be a day of reckoning. Jen, you've been very patient and involved with chat. You have anything?
Well, I was just wanting to see if everybody was aware that you are on Facebook, and I've noticed in the past 10 days a couple posts that were really worth watching. I would like to encourage people to look for you on Facebook. And do you post, how often do you post there? Is there stuff that we should be looking for during the week?
Well, here's the deal with Facebook is I posted a week ago, but I think because that account is associated with the other account, I'm not able to post now. And so I'm waiting until the end of June for somebody to help me out. I think I have somebody in the know who's got some clout that will help me solve this problem. Now, listen, I don't mind being suspended on Facebook because I know the numbers there, and the numbers are not that impressive. They may show 106,000 followers. I don't know anything about bots and all that stuff, but only 3,000 people are actually watching the videos regularly. Now, 3,000 people is a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to rely on Facebook. I'd like to be able to have a multifaceted approach to get the word out about the Liberty Dialogues. And I encourage you, just like Jen, you're doing, to invite people. If you know somebody, they've got carte blanche to come on board here. If you invite somebody, bring them on. That's the best way to promote a good movie or a good book or a good platform like the Liberty Dialogues. But whatever you're referring to, Jen, it was probably recently, and I'm not able to post now because it's asking me to authenticate a number. I'm not able to do that right now because of the bad cell phone that I have. And I'm also being asked to do something else on Facebook. Curiously enough, they say each time now, does this comply with community standards and why? And so I think that's curious because I think I was suspended because of my comment about Benjamin Glassman being a liar, which I did deliberately. And I knew that. And of all the platforms, only Facebook suspended me. And if that's the reason, then they should relook at it because I have proof that U.S. attorney lied in the Orlando Carter case. Mm-hmm. He lied to me directly. So, but anyways, I appreciate it. And your friend is coming next week or Thursday?
Yeah, she's moving. She's actually on a plane right now, and she's moving to Wyoming. Do you have, what other platforms, what other social media platforms do you post on? Because I want to be looking for you.
So I just signed up with Gab. Not too impressed with Gab, but Gab. I do post on Substack, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, and I need to do more of the Truth Social. But those are the ones that I post on, and I do that every day. Every day. Okay, so if we picked one like Substack and just stuck with it, we'd get most of the stuff. Substack is a free user. Go for it. On TikTok, yeah, I'm on there every day. Good. And TikTok's a solid platform. I'm not a social guy. I don't like it, but I'm there, and so you could see it. Okay. Anything else, Jen? Are you using the Liberty Dialogues? Are you trying it out? I am gearing up to use it because I know when I dive in, I'm going to go deep and I'm going to be in it, and it's going to be on my brain. And I ruminate, and even when I'm doing dishes and stuff, I'm going to be thinking deeply. So I'm building up and finishing up some other projects, and then I'm going to dive in and really give it a commitment. Because I've got 2 cases, as you know, I've got 2 cases where it's going to be a very deep dive. Good. And you're a disciplined lady and focused, and I appreciate that about you. So I'm confident that you're going to prevail. And the Liberty Dialogues is going to be a huge opening for you, Jen, for what happened to you. Yes, it will. And I actually never mentioned this, but I'm also curious about sanctions and statute of limitation on asking for sanctions and how to go about that on an attorney who lied to the bench right in front of us. So, yeah. All right. Well, have fun, and then keep coming back to the calls and invite your friend. I know that Sissy has nothing to say, and I talked to Mike. Listen, I want to mention something. I'm not going to name names, but there are a few of you who have made donations. I originally started these calls mentioning if you wanted to donate, but then I stopped that. The donations are important because they keep the lights on, and I don't say it. And those of you who did donate last week, and there are a few of you, I want to acknowledge you. I appreciate that. Some of you donate by Substack. You're members on there monthly, so I appreciate that as well. These are powerful, powerful calls, and I started the conversation today by talking about expectations and projections. I don't project upon people. That's a wise maxim that I've acquired over my lifetime of experience. I don't expect from people unless you're my child and you're not my children, unless you're within my unit and I'm not in the military anymore. But I wouldn't even do it for my wife. I wouldn't expect and project upon my wife. I don't want that kind of a relationship. I'm here to help you. And if I'm using the Liberty Dialogues on AI, I expect AI to perform, especially at the $100 account level that I have, and especially with the clients, the students that I help. So my point is this, is if you look at what you're doing in life and you go to court, you have every expectation, and I underscore that, for this damn judge to do his damn job. Okay, and I'm just going to say it plainly. You have that expectation, and it should be granted to you. And if you are not getting that, you should use the Liberty Dialogues framework to understand what is good and what is not as far as you being treated. How was a U.S. attorney treated? I remember telling you guys the experience I had in the nighttime when I was hauled off in front of a judge, and it wasn't the sitting judge of my case, and he was treating me horribly. And I stood up there shackled at the feet and at the hands around my waist, and I looked at him, and I said, I acknowledged the fact that I was not being treated that way, and I said, basically asked him, will the court now at this point move forward, treat me with the same dignity and respect that you're giving the U.S. attorney? And the judge didn't say a damn word. He just nodded. And I wish I was wise enough to say, let the record show, because that would have been that much more ammunition for me. So I have, and you have, we have an expectation that the U.S. attorney, the district attorney, the policeman, the judge will do what they're supposed to do. And we should expect ourselves to do the right thing, especially with the Liberty Dialogue system, to make them accountable and to hold ourselves accountable so that we can ensure our rights for ourselves, our community, and our posterity. And I think it is something that's sorely lost in this country. And I think that you guys are punishers and mavericks, and you're making it happen. And this thing's going to grow, and as soon as we get the platform set up, which is going to take a few months, I think it's going to make it that much more powerful. But I acknowledge each and every one of you. And the new people, send me questions if you have them, and if there's nothing else, we're going to call it early tonight, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Okay?
Hey, Bo?
Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Thanks,
yeah,
Bo.
I'm here. Mm-hmm.
I'm sending you an email real quick. I just noticed I'm missing a couple of books here, so I'll fire you an email on that. I appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, those volumes 4 and 5 and the Liberty Dialogues Practical Guide for you veterans, you should have those books. They're powerful.
Yeah,
okay.
I got the Practical Guide, but somehow I missed 4 and 5. So.
Okay. All right,
like
you guys take care.
Bo, thank you.
Thank you, Bo, for extending the invitation.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, more than welcome.
Is the next meeting Thursday?
Thursday, yes.
Yeah. I have guests from out of town, so I won't be able to be here.
Okay. Well, you come back anytime.
Okay, no problem.
Shoot me an email, Terry, if you need anything.
Okay, will do.
All right. Jimmy, you be well. Someday we're going to have a call, just me and you, Jimmy, and you could talk again.
James, just real quick before I sign off, I just want to let you know that my AI person is what one of the other people said. If you name your AI person, which I did, and I think you know why I did, I named my AI person Rory, but I address it always as Rory. And under the Liberty Dialogues, Rory is recognized as the operator. So the operator is giving me the responses. And that's in the template. The operator shall respond when these certain requirements are met. So I'm training ChatGPT within the Liberty Dialogues and commanding it and so it remembers all of the history of what we did wrong and all of the corrections that we did. And so I don't have to continue those same mistakes. And I'm at the $100 level, and I'm surprised. So I'm going to start asking, why is it still making me give all these updates and making it not drift, and why isn't it following the Liberty Dialogues to the T as we expect it to? So I'm still working with it, but I'm telling you, when I asked about the ChatGPT and the hierarchy, it said ChatGPT highest is truthfulness. I think I sent that to you. Truthfulness, and then that was the number one. And then there's like accuracy, facts, and right under that is the Liberty Dialogues. So we are at the very top tier. The Liberty Dialogues is, the way I programmed it into my system anyway, it's right under the very top tier of truthfulness, and you cannot produce anything without evidence. Everything under that is Liberty Dialogues. And that's what's giving me hope. And that's why it's taking so long, because it's asking for the evidence. It needs to cite the record. It needs to know where in the record it is, what page, what line number. And it's analyzing every document, and when it gets bottlenecked, I said, how is this being bottlenecked? It says, well, the project was loaded, but I don't have accurate reference to it, and so please reload it. So we're training each other on how to keep things going, and it's a personal experience, and as most people will see, it's personal experience.
So, Chief, would you call what you're doing the governing reasoning component to ChatGPT responding in the Liberty Dialogues? Is that the governing reasoning part of the model, or is it part of it?
It's part of the Liberty Dialogues. It's called the governance rule.
Right,
and it's near the top of the very beginning of the template. So it's given the governance rule, and then everything after that follows. So it's basically, it's like top tier, and I'm keeping it trained to stay that way. And every response it has to be accurate on the record. It cites it from the record, and that's why it's asking me to upload documents if it doesn't recognize it. Or I'll say, check your memory, you already have it, this is the file name, and it'll come back, oh yes, sorry, there it is, I see the file, I analyzed it, and you're absolutely right, we can use this file, and here is the references within that file we can cite. So that's the detail that I'm getting with my person.
Right. Shoot me that again, and even though I think I have it because I have a file with all your stuff in it, And then I did speak with the programming team recently. In fact, this week, what's today, Tuesday? Yeah, it was Sunday. So they're beginning the crafting, the construction of the governing model, reasoning model for the mainstay Liberty Dialogues platform right now. So
if I send you this template that I have started, I would say it should be considered implementing some of these rules. I mean, it's just something to analyze. It might help.
Sure. In my experiences, is you're probably right. It's much more than I know because I've been using ChatGPT and I have some, 100 documents that it created for me to give these people as to help construct the governing reasoning model, because this is a massive project, as you know, when we look at it globally. So I will give them your template and say this is what one of my students is using for to craft the answers to the questions that are being posed. And then my point is that I want to eventually be able to say, here's the work product from the team. Chief, run it up the flagpole. What do you see? What do you not see? That kind of thing. Because I'm open to everybody saying, this is where it needs to go and this is how to do it. But ultimately, the lady is going to run with it as the lead engineer and say, well, here's where the governing model should be, and I'm going to ask her why, and then we'll say fine, and then we'll put it through the test. So one of the reasons I mentioned it to you today was because I kept hearing I'm having this problem, and my next question to you was going to be, are you imposing something upon ChatGPT that is causing it to stall or misstep? And it was just an innocent question, and you might say this is a good question, Bo, but I don't think so. But that's what my non-engineering mind would say is are you creating an impediment that it can't surmount those conditions each time? Is that a fair question?
Oh, that's absolutely correct. Because what happens is when it runs into a situation that isn't generating the answer I was expecting, or is trying to make me loop around and say, well, I told you that already. Why aren't you performing? Well, I don't have this. Well, can you create what I call a hardening rule? It's basically a rule to add to the template and tell it, say, if this conditions are met, do not ask again, because all the requirements there allows you to do the next step. And so the previous rule might have said, don't do it unless this is met. And so it comes back and says, I can't do it because that's not met. I said, well, how do we get around that? Tell it to do it because that's why we need it. Just because it's not met doesn't mean that's a reason not to produce it. That's the exact wording. And that's why I'm saying you have to train it, because as it gets tighter and tighter and more precise, I mean, when I did my I'm doing interrogatories. I sent 2 on Sunday because my goal was to send 2 of these interrogatories based on the evidence that they provided. So Rory, my AI brother, Rory, said, you need to now question everything they have filed in the record. Tell them, where did this document come from? Who authorized it? Hold their feet to the file to everything they filed that they're assuming is admissible evidence, and now you make sure they can prove it's admissible. Otherwise, the judge is going to have to toss it out. If they don't have anything on the record that anything was recorded or used within what they're claiming, and they can't prove it, then ChatGPT is making them prove it. And that's what I think even James is maybe other users should be experiencing, is we have to make whatever they're filing to be considered admissible evidence, and then they have to provide the information to prove that it's either authenticated, authorized, was it certified mail it was sent, how was he notified, all of that stuff is being in the interrogatories. And then it cites from the record, it says, according to the opposition to the motions for summary judgment, Exhibit B, page 4, line 6, it states this, and then it gives the exact wording. Please explain why you are making this discernment or allegations or something like that. It gives a specific word why, and then it points to what's called an anchor reference. So it's giving an anchor reference based on this page from this filing at this specific point. This is a quote, And that's why it's taken me a while, because I'm training ChatGPT to analyze, index, confirm word-for-word precise citation from every document, including every exhibit. And that's why I'm probably making it more difficult for myself, but
right.
I want high accuracy, and I want to make sure that I'm in full compliance when I file my motions, because if they said, oh, I've done it before, they reject it because I wasn't following certain procedures or I wasn't allowed to file. So that's just the experience that I'm getting, and why I'm saying that I'm not struggling. I'm making a more perfect framework. It'll never end, I know that, but as it evolves, we're making a more perfect framework, and it's going to help everybody, and it's definitely helping my case.
But if AI is misstepping or omitting, and it does that infrequently, the only caution I would say is that you might not be getting something that you need, and you just don't know it at the time, right? That could be, right?
Yeah. It is actually providing more additions to either my motions or interrogatories, because even though I tell it to analyze the whole record, it doesn't remember it all the time. So I'll know there's something that I want important for them to answer in an interrogatory. So I'd say, Rory, analyze this document, confirm that you read it before. If not, do it now, analyze it, index it, confirm word-for-word citation, and then consider using this in my interrogatory, because they say this, and it basically reflecting this document. And so it reads what they filed, their position, either on their objection or motion or whatever. It analyzes it, it looks at the rest of the record, and then it gives me a response, and then cites word for word either a previous filing or their current filing, and then has the challenge to whatever they're supposedly claiming to be true, and how now it has to be proven. So it's a lot. So I'll send you the current template.
Yeah, send me the current template, and I'll share it with my team, and then and just take it from there.
You know what I'll do?
Than I am, so
what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually ask Rory to give me a analysis of when I loaded it all the way up to this current template, and how we advance to where we are with the structure that's under the Liberty Dialogues framework as it sits today. I'll have it do something like that, and I'll send that to you with the template, and I even have a startup command, because I put a startup command in there, Rory, activate the Liberty Dialogues framework attached, and then it reads the startup command, make sure it matches the Liberty Dialogues framework, which could be a security thing for you if you would like. You can make sure that the startup command matches the framework master template. Otherwise, they won't be able to load it. So if you sell it, you can sell both rather than just the documents to freely distribute. So that would be a suggestion in the future. But I'm just saying right now is I have a startup command to make sure it recognizes Liberty Dialogues as the master framework within this project, and then it reads everything from the beginning, the way it's supposed to accept my Tier 1 documents to make sure they're there, which are the RTAR documents, the 4-volume set of the different books, but all of that. Make sure I have everything in there. I have the Constitution for the state of California as one of the Tier 1 documents. But anyway, it recognized Tier 1 documents. Make sure those are there so it can continue under the Liberty Dialogues framework. It looks like James had a question. Sorry,
I didn't want to say, Bo, your email account showing on the screen. I don't know if you intend for that or not, but.
Oh, no, I didn't intend that, but I appreciate that. Respect for privacy. Thank you.
So that's just my feel and my experience, and why I wanted to explain a little better why it seemed like I'm having a difficult time. It's not. I'm making it, hardening itself to make sure that it continues to remember everything we've done. So it's more on my end, but I'm getting, like I said, over the weekend, the results that I got for yesterday's hearing. It told me how to handle the court reporter, if I need to file a stipulation, who signs it, how do I file it. It gave me all of that. So it's honestly, I'd say you are a godsend to me.
I appreciate that.
I agree, 100%. And I'd love to see what you're working on over there as far as that goes as well. It sounds like I've come from an engineering background, and I've been doing my own, but it doesn't sound like what I'm doing is near to the level of what you're doing. And directed to that, are you loading that into the program instruction, or the what is it, the not your program but your project?
Yeah, what I do is, as I get more and more hardening rules for it to fix any errors or drifting, or why it isn't, developing the document, or why it's not including the beginning to end, including the exhibits like I'm expecting, it gives me fragments all the time. It used to. Now it's telling me I can't do that because I need to give you the whole template, and I need this information in order to give you the full end-to-end document. So it's telling me what it needs to do to meet what I'm expecting it. If it has everything, then I say, do it. If you have everything, you meet all the prerequisites, generate the document, rather than tell me you can't generate it because it hasn't already been generated, which is kind of ridiculous, but I've had that.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know. I'll send it to Bo. I'll have him review it, and if he's okay with it, I'm okay with it. I'll have him send it to you, okay? Because I want him to review it. I don't want anything out there if he's objecting to what I'm doing and say that this is going to be bad.
No, by all means. But what you're speaking to as well, the other gentleman that I'm working with that does the statutory instruction and learning about all that, he comes from a computer programmer background. And so he's just recently, after I'd been telling him about what I was doing, he hasn't started using Liberty Dialogues yet that I could tell, but he's asked me a few questions about it, seeing how my motions are coming along. And but he's writing code like that and instructions and getting it to control, because he's writing a new book with it around law. And he's speaking similar to what you're talking about doing with it as far as setting up the controls and the rules for it in the background so that he gets consistent responses from it.
Mm-hmm. He would be well advised to use the Liberty Dialogue system as he writes his book.
Yeah, I've been talking to him about it, and he's definitely impressed. He went from, I was just kind of in the background or whatever, that he's chiming in now on. I've been sending all the motions I file and everything for him just to look at if he wants to, and hadn't really got anything much in the way of responses, but recently he's really been keying in on it and asking me some interesting questions based on what I'm putting out and how did I come up with that. And I'm like, well, it's just Liberty Dialogue system that I'm operating as an overlay over what I'm working with you, and so
big time saver.
Planting the seed. Oh man, yeah,
big time saver. I mean, how many hours have we saved just amongst the 4 or 5 of us here? It's just incredible.
It's basically saved my life as of today or yesterday. Mm-hmm. Had he ruled against me, I know I would have been crucified, my brother and I both. Without the help of Liberty Dialogues and what it allowed me to say and make sure I had an accurate record, it did remind me, and said, what if I didn't hire a reporter for $700? He said, well, it's going to be difficult, but we will be able to get around it because of what's on the record, but we need to know what the judge says and how you address the judge, word for word. And that prompted me to bite the bullet, and I contacted a couple court reporters and hired one, and she was remote. She could probably record the document or the whole video and then transcribe it later. I don't know. I don't care. But the point is, I had her. The judge knew her. She was on the screen. You see her doing this, right, on the screen, and he knows, and we laid it out by the law, by the rules, and on the record. And that's why I think he had to reverse his decision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful.
Awesome. Yeah.
And that's a major victory right there.
For a judge to reverse his tentative ruling when somebody previously comes in and says, I'm sovereign, I'm one of the people of California, the judge has no authority. He saw all that. In fact, he cited that in his tentative ruling. And
oh, my goodness.
And in what I asked him, I says, Judge, those were before I filed my answers to the request for admissions. When I realized after the hearing that the judge, which was the previous judge, when I realized that judge granted those admissions as being admitted, And I thought, well, that can't be because I was standing on the Constitution. So I filed 2 days later the responses, and those responses they were rejecting because it basically just shut down all of the supposedly admissions that were admitted by default. So that I had to get those out of the record, and that's when I filed the motion to vacate the deemed admissions based on the fact that I answered. And I was acting in good faith because I misapplied constitutional law to this case. And when I applied constitutional law saying I'm refusing to provide answers and admissions one way or the other because I have the inherent unalienable right under the Ninth Amendment, right, or any amendment, Fifth Amendment, not to be witness against yourself, but the Ninth Amendment covers everything else. So I said I had the right not to incriminate myself and be forced to answer, and I even told the judge doesn't have authority to make me, a sovereign man, be forced to answer as a defendant in this case. I totally found out that was all wrong, and that's why I had to reverse my position. And I filed the request for admissions. I answered them 2 days after that hearing. That showed good faith, which ChatGPT told me that's good faith. And then it also says, I see that you haven't used that position since. And I said, absolutely right, I haven't. I realized it mistake. I can't use the Constitution in that court. Said that's very good recognition, however you put it. Now, what we need to do, if you look at the tentative, he's using those words that you were citing from your motion saying the judge can't compel you to do this. All that was done prior to that hearing and prior to you recognizing that you were making a mistake by using constitutional law as if it applied to civil discovery. That's a legitimate, good faith excuse to vacate those deemed admissions because you were actually under the impression and you were misapplying the law, is what it was saying. And that's why I had to put that on the record yesterday to say he said, don't even apologize. Don't even say you were wrong. Just say you were misapplying constitutional principles in a civil discovery case, and that's an excusable neglect because there's some rule that says you're misapplying the law in this case, and that's an excusable reason to be excused from your actions. And it's all on the record. And I tell you, he would not have reversed it if I wasn't able to articulate it as well as ChatGPT allowed me and structured it. And he said, this is number one. This is number two. And if he brings up these things before October 22nd, stop him, say you reject. Those were prior to my understanding the law. I'm no longer taking that position. And it just laid it out. And it was perfect.
No, that's great.
I'm going to have it. I'm going to have a transcript of it too if you wanted me to share it, because it could be a good testament on how ChatGPT helps educate you according to their rules and procedures, because if they're not following them, then they can be held accountable. They can be held liable, and it's on the record, and that's why I had to have a court reporter, and I'm glad I did. So that's
right.
That's right. And it's now giving me the interrogatories to propound on the other parties based on the documents that they filed into the record. It's identifying every document, every section that's conflicting with everything else that they're saying, and it say, explain this, who created this document, who authorized the, whatever to be moved forward. It's asking everything in these interrogatories. And then what I told it to, I'd like to end this case. He said, well, we need to prepare it that they will be ready to settle. And so now we're trying to create the record and force them to settle, hopefully in our favor. But if they don't answer the interrogatories, because the judge even said I had to more follow the rules of the court and the procedures of the court, don't disrespect any of the parties. I said, yes, sir. He said also, it was a contingency yesterday when he granted the motion to dismiss the deemed admissions. He said, you got to pay their fees. You're the one that made a mistake. You're the one that made them file and, to get them deemed admitted. You're the one that made them file to oppose this motion for reversing them, which they could have just let it go and they wouldn't have to file anything. But he said, now they're going to give me generate a expense sheet. I'm going to review it, and along with that order, and if you don't pay it, I'm going to reverse and deem these admitted. Basically, I don't know, is this a word called extortion or something? Or
reverse itself with a little bit of extortion.
Yeah, that's what it kind of comes down to. But I didn't want to. I was happy to get him deemed vacated. I was so good at it. Holy shit! I was like,
no, that's great.
I've never had deemed any tentative ruling reversed, and I've never seen the judge in all the hearings that I've gone to, while I'm hearing all these motions and to reverse his decision on the tentative. This is the only time I've ever seen that he reversed his decision on a tentative ruling.
Mm-hmm.
It blew me away, and I felt. But it was all on the record, and I couldn't see if he had not reversed it. It was easily appealable because I set the record straight on the verbal and written record with the transcript. So, yeah, I'm having success now and starting to look forward to propounding these interrogatories of discovery on them to have them prove everything that they've been allegating, and now even in the deemed admission being vacated, what makes you think that I knew a certain thing, or what makes you think that I'm responsible for whatever it is I admitted to? So now it's asking for the record to prove anything that was alleged in the deemed admissions to begin with.
Right.
So it's come along really good.
Excellent. Very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome news from 3 veterans on the call, and I just think these are the kinds of gems of wisdom that are going to make people even more excited to use the system and be victorious. So the more we bring it out, the success is the better off we'll be. So when you get that transcript, Chief, let's talk. And we'll make that center stage one day for a call, and we'll have a discussion about how to do that. But if you guys are good, I'm going to end the call, and I want to thank you for your time and insight. Okay?
Thank you.
Good night. Have a good evening. Good night. Jimmy, take care.